right.
All right, we're recording.
Episode
now. 2. Friends talking music with beer.
Long-awaited episode 2. Yeah. I might add. We have had clamoring fans.
Been a little bit of a hiatus
waiting for this. But like they say, all good things, you have to wait for them. I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
So today, I guess we've got a little bit of a lineup change. I guess probably going forward, it's just going to be me, Riley,
and Matt,
DJ Bloop Bloop, Rusty Chains.
Bloop Bloop. Rusty Chains, Mildew. I'm known by all these things.
Man of many names.
No
soul. But yeah, but this really isn't a laughing matter, though. Our two other co-hosts, may they rest in peace, Ankur Patel died because he was a bad vegetarian, and Trey Divalbis was killed by a fish.
It's just take a moment of silence.
Yeah, so let's have a moment of silence to remember our fallen friends here. Okay.
Thank you so much for taking that moment of silence.
Thank you.
So the theme of today's podcast is best albums of 2016, a month into 2017.
Yes, and we know that we're late on this. We're sorry.
But that's good. I feel like we've had time to think about them, everything, even the ones that came out in December we got to listen to. Mm-hmm. So all the albums have marinated by now.
And I guess when we say best, we're talking about our personal favorites. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I think this
is not like a
objectively the best albums, but what the albums that we liked the most, and we'll get to the criteria.
We're really just baiting clicks with the word best.
Yeah, just hopefully you've clicked on this and you're now a fan,
and now you're stuck
giving us that sweet.
And we already have your
revenue.
money.
Yeah.
But it is favorites because it's definitely if we were doing like a critically acclaimed list or what I thought was the best, I'd probably do it slightly different list.
Exactly. I'm sure there are objectively better albums than the ones that we chose.
Yeah, but these are the most important ones
to us, specifically to us.
But we should mention what beer we're drinking.
Yeah, this is Friends Talking Music with Beer. So before we get into the music, let's talk about the beer.
The beer is Green Blaze by Long Trail Brewing Company in Vermont.
They're out of Vermont.
They were at Beer Fest in Columbus.
Yeah, we went to Beer Fest, was it 2 weekends ago?
I think so.
And we tried to sample as many beers that we could.
This was definitely our favorite one. I would say for sure.
Out of probably would you say we had 25 beers? Different beers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were pretty fucked up.
Hey man, my parents are listening.
I'll cut that out. We'll cut that
out. But yeah, so this was probably about halfway through our drinking experience, and we didn't find a better one. For whatever reason, though, when we had it there, it was so piney and like
it was just like completely unique hop.
It's an I guess we should say it's an IPA.
Right.
It was such a unique, like so many IPAs these days are just trying to push the boundary of the hop.
Yeah.
And I guess, what were you calling it, like a West Coast IPA?
I think a lot of IPAs now kind of have a West Coast style where it's very wet. This was more of like a dry, resiny IPA. It was really refreshing.
And just with it being from Vermont, I specifically remember like kind of the aesthetics of the booth that they had set up, and it was just a very like kind of outdoorsy. They're named the Long Trail because I guess there's a rather long trail in Vermont, and they're situated, I guess, halfway-ish through it, and so hikers kind of stop and get a beer here. But it just kind of, drinking it and smelling it kind of reminded me of like being in like a pine forest, just because it had such a piney aroma and like kind of had that sap.
It has that aesthetic somehow.
Yeah.
It's pretty genius.
It was great when we had it there. So we went and picked up a 6-pack here, and we're drinking it now. And we both came to the conclusion that it doesn't taste nearly the same as it did then.
It didn't have quite that impact for whatever reason.
Maybe it's because they had brought it straight from their brewery to Ohio that day. And this beer has been sitting out for I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's not quite the same. It's still a good beer.
It's still good though.
If you ever have a chance to maybe stop at their actual brewery and get it, and hopefully it would taste the same as what
if we ever get it. We should go to Vermont and try to get it there one day.
But it's still a good beer. You might be able to pick it up. It seems fairly ubiquitous around
Yeah,
larger
they seem
cities.
to be pretty popular.
Yeah, at least around the East Coast, Midwest.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out if you get a chance.
It's a good IPA.
Yeah, Long Trail Brewing Company, Green Blaze IPA.
All right, I think now let's get into the albums.
Yeah, let's jump into the albums here.
So first, we want to talk about
the criteria.
Yeah, we already mentioned a little bit. These are our favorite albums of 2016. So Riley, what did it mean to you? What went into deciding what was your favorite album of 2016?
I guess a lot of it just has to do with like my inner like feeling towards it, and probably the ones that not necessarily listened to the most, but these ones I probably did listen to like the most out of any albums, but also just kind of the ones that either personally affected me the most, made me think the most, made me kind of feel the most, or got me, at least my third choice, got me into kind of an entirely new music genre and kind of opened my eyes to a whole like subset of music that I had really never explored before. So I chose that. We'll get there later, but for reasons of just kind of broadening my musical perspective and horizons. So it really just comes down to like my gut feel of like what did I really like the most of 2016. It wasn't super scientific. It's not, like we said earlier, it's not objectively the best albums, right, but it's the ones that made me feel the best.
Yeah. Okay. I especially like that last point that you made.
Yeah.
Something that like broadened your horizons in a way in a music genre. I hadn't even really thought about it in that way. For me, it was, I really wanted to avoid like the Flavor of the Week album of 2016. There were a lot that I'd listened to a lot, or some songs that I listened to a lot.
Like for a week or two, and then you would drop
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I want to make sure that these are, so really the biggest criteria was, for me, was, is this an album I'm going to come back to?
Yeah.
In 2017,
that's a good one too,
later in my life. And so I don't want to do like the big reveal, but I think my number one is an album. Like every summer, I know I'm going to listen to that album,
for sure,
because it's just such like a good summer.
And hopefully to not give away too much, you've kind of front loaded most of your list. I looked and they came out in January and February of 2016.
Yeah,
and so you've definitely had a long time to come back to them throughout the entire
year. And it's kind of
year.
interesting. Like really, I haven't listened to these ones as much in the winter. I don't think. I think two of them are more summer albums. Maybe it's just me longing for summer now that we're in here. January, February. But yeah, definitely I've had time to think about them, and I think they're really good having let them sit for a while.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same, because two of mine came out in October, and but I think they were just so goddamn good, they beat out everything else. So I've had time to come back and listen to them, but just not a whole year worth of time to come back.
All right, should we get into the albums now?
Yeah, so the way we're gonna do this is we'll talk about our, like, Matt's third favorite album, my third favorite album, Matt's second favorite album, my second, and so on.
And build up, so you have to listen to the very end.
There's surprises throughout the entire podcast, folks, so don't
leave now.
Don't leave now, because you're gonna be so surprised.
Don't change that channel.
It's gonna be the best. So yeah, I guess it's time probably just to jump into our third favorite albums. So Matt, let's kick it off.
So we'll start with mine. Number 3, The Life of Pablo, Kanye West.
All right, a bit of a divisive pick.
A little bit. Like, I feel like people like gave it a lot of flack, but I think it's still really damn good.
Yeah, and I can agree with that for the most part. It is a good album, and it just wasn't my favorite album.
Yeah.
It wasn't even my favorite, like, Kanye West album. And I remember when it came out, I just really, I first of all, it was hard for me to even listen to it because it came out only on that one music platform, and so I got kind of like, I just will listen to it. Then I kind of forgot, and then it came out on Spotify, and I eventually listened to it again, like, once.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
I guess I did just download it when it came out, and I was like,
yeah. illegally?
There was like a lot. I feel like I
this?
could have picked for 3.
Uh-huh.
What?
Do you admit that you illegally downloaded this in front of Kanye West?
Yes, I am an illegal citizen. There's a lot I could have picked for 3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I come back to my criteria, like what am I going to listen to later on? I mean, part of it is just because it's Kanye's album, but I will. There's some songs that are awesome, and we'll definitely still listen to those songs.
Yeah.
Like the overall album, I mean, I'm gonna skip some songs for sure, and I do now. But I think it's a really good summer. Mm-hmm. It's a really good summer album. I'm definitely gonna listen to it this summer.
What makes it such a good summer album?
I think it's a lot of the like soulfulness. I think is. I don't know, it just has like a really good elements. The gospel is like a really good like positive vibes type atmosphere overall, and I think that's what he was trying to do a lot. I think this was, like I said, I think it's more of a good music album than a Kanye album. Like after Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, like you could almost see him going completely away from hip hop and rap. Mm-hmm. And if he had gone like down that road, that would have made a lot of sense, I think. Yeah.
But I guess for our listeners' sake, can you explain what good music is in this context?
Good music is like Kanye's like group where it's more like a collaborative of like it's more him trying to connect with other hip hop artists rather than just Kanye doing Kanye things, really. And that's what this album was. Is there's a ton of features on it, and he brought in Kendrick and Chance, like some of the those are probably the 2 hottest rappers right now. So I think this album was a return. Kanye's return to like the hip hop community after a little hiatus from.
So you would call this more of a true hip hop album than anything else?
For lack of more than anything else, I think it's hip hop because it's. Sure.
He jumped on the trap bandwagon with this.
Yeah. He definitely has some like. Yeah. Well, I think trap is. Now pop.
I think you were. Trap is now pop music. Yeah. Even though I think we're
the instrumentals of pretty much like any pop song that isn't indie pop is like instrumental or trap influenced. I think.
But I guess.
But yeah, I think so. To explain what it like Kanye's return to hip hop, what I think I mean by that is that, I believe Yeezus came out the same year as To Pimp a Butterfly, and basically I think Kanye realized Kendrick made the same album but did it way better, and he's like, I can't beat Kendrick right now, so I'll just bring in Kendrick. We'll make another. He's like, we'll get together.
Can't beat him, join him, man.
Yeah, and those were in. Well, I don't want to talk about this album too long, but I think Yeezus was like his like protest album, and
his protest of what?
Like. It was like a societal protest.
Kind of like how To Pimp a Butterfly was a protest.
Most definitely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think they were similar. And I think Kanye thought like, well, he tried to do that one more on his own. Tried to do like a protest album on his own. Yeah. But I think he realized like he needed more collaboration. Like really, the strength of the community is when you bring people together, not try to do something on your own.
Sure. And I guess I do have to say, as with pretty much any Kanye West album, it has some of the most prolific beats and like samples.
I do think Kanye is just I think this was the best produced album of the year.
Especially on I think both of our favorite songs on this album, Ultralight Beam.
It's pretty genius.
It's just incredibly. Kanye, like, say what you will about the man's personality and personal life. Just like his ability to make great music and beats and production quality is fairly unmatched. And
he just makes.
I guess we can probably play a little bit of that song right now. Yeah. If we don't get taken down by Universal or Warner Brothers, whoever. But yeah, if we were able to play the song, I hope that you enjoyed a little bit of what it sounds like there.
Yeah. Chance really does take that song to a new place. Like he was really the perfect person to put on that one. Yeah. It's hardly even a Kanye song, but I feel like Kanye is part of the production as much as anything. So I think
Yeah.
that's part of what makes it great. Like overall, like it's not the best Kanye album by any means, but I don't think that makes it a bad album
And he
necessarily.
even I think addresses it with that song "I Love Kanye" about how like people are so clamoring for his like his old self and his old music, but he's evolved and
you have to respect that part, that he's willing to go to new places every single time.
Yeah,
and he definitely still has that soul like gospel element. The last thing I wanted to mention about this one was, of course, he did like the iterative album type thing. Do you think that would be like someone else will kind of use that, where he changed the actual album itself, like changed the actual songs within it?
Where it was kind of a ongoing project for him even after he dropped it.
Right.
I don't know, man. That's interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, because will we ever be able to listen to the first version of Life of Pablo? I guess you downloaded it, so you
I
might have
downloaded it, so that's like the album experience that I know. So I don't like that overall.
Yeah, but I mean, if you bought the physical copy, did he release a physical copy?
No.
Oh, so it was just purely digital, and he could basically do whatever he wanted with it the entire time. That's interesting, and I think that could be an entire conversation on its own, right?
We totally could. If nothing else, it's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
But I think artists could use some of those concepts to, I mean, even with your number one album, like there's another kind of, it's kind of the same album, the next one that's coming out, just slightly different.
Yeah.
So.
And I would also say, like to interject here and say, we did see the Life of Pablo tour here in Columbus. And
it was a damn good show.
Yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who could ever see him live. He is quite the showman.
Yeah. And really, I wanted to see the classics more than anything else.
Yeah, and he sang the classics. He sang the new stuff. He flew around on a magic carpet. It was pretty crazy.
any of the like biggest pop artists like Kanye or Taylor Swift are gonna do
that
like,
was the first
show.
Like huge arena show I've ever been to, and I was fairly awestruck by the entire thing.
Yeah,
so.
It's definitely awesome.
Sucks that he had to cancel half the tour, but maybe his next album I would definitely recommend trying to go see it.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously Kanye's on our radar. We'll see what he does next.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead to Riley's number 3.
All right.
You want to introduce it?
Yeah, my number 3 album, a little bit out of left field. I actually had a fairly hard time choosing it, but kind of like I said earlier, this album got me into a whole new genre of music, and this is the band Nails with the album "You Will Never Be One of Us."
It rocks.
Yeah, Matt texted me after he had listened to it. He was like, "Dude, this album."
I was like making dinner with my headphones on and just absolutely head banging.
So
constantly.
If you've never heard Nails before, where would you put them on the musical spectrum genre?
I just put this in the metal department.
Yeah, Matt puts on metal. I put it more in the like beyond hardcore.
I think it's punk hardcore.
It's
technically
it's like so, but it's like so like beyond hard. It's like hard. It's like hardcore's hardcore essentially.
Yeah.
Wikipedia describes it as power violence. I don't know if that means anything to anybody. So. It's definitely sort of a. It's
Google
sort of,
Play calls it American hardcore punk.
Okay.
So I don't know.
It's cool because they like we can talk about like where does this fall in. It doesn't fall really into anything perfectly. They're kind of their own thing. But if you've never heard of Nails or this album before, just get ready to be punched in the motherfucking face like when you're listening to it, because
it's awesome.
And that's exactly what it is. It's all of their albums just short, brutal, powerful, something you listen to at the gym, or like if you just want to get pumped up for something or just feel like angry, just let it out. Like
this is a great gym album.
Yeah.
I was so glad you introduced me to this.
Yeah. And I guess kind of going on how this opened my eyes to another thing. Well, first it opened my eyes to the back catalog of Nails, and each of their albums is kind of different from each other, while they still all adhere to that same sort of like blasting like hardcore music. Like their first album is a little bit more on the punk side, and then it kind of evolves more from there and to where we have today, which is I think, like you said, a little bit more on a metalish side.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know how to define it, but it does.
I apologize to all the metal fans out there who want to like come and smite us for getting this wrong.
I don't apologize. I'm just not a fan of the aesthetic usually overall, but I feel like this was unique. I feel like overall the genre has been played out in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it sounds similar to me. I mean, it's probably unique and if like you inspect it really closely.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was a lot of things that made this album specifically, it differentiated itself.
Yeah.
It was just produced to a point where it wasn't just like total chaos that was going on.
Yeah. But it's still, if you like to be able to understand lyrics in your music, I'm sorry, these are just guttural yells and screams.
The other part that I liked about it that kind of like I thought separated it from other metal that I dislike was that it was not so self-indulgent. Like it is quick songs, you know. It's just like it's brutal, gets to the point,
minute or less.
That's what it is. Like we don't have to relish. But except for the last song, the longest song that they've ever written.
It's like half the length of like their first album is the last song.
Yeah, but that song it transitions from different places. The metal songs that I don't like are 3 to 4 minutes of the same thrashing over and over. Then what are you doing? Like I can't hear your lyrics anyways. These are like a minute or less than a minute, and it's just like hardcore, like get to the point, repeat this a few times, done.
And that's all it needs to be. And it's like before it outstays its welcome, like you were saying, it just says what it needs to say, punches you in the gut, and then moves on to the next gut punch.
I would say so.
Yeah, and this introduced me. If you have listened to Nails after listening to this, this introduced me to bands like Gate Creeper, Iron Reagan, and like I said, the rest of the Nails back catalog. If you like this kind of stuff, start digging a little bit deeper. There's other things out there that are kind of like this, and you know, I'm slowly getting more into this type of music. It's affecting like sort of my on like my songwriting sensibilities and things like that. It's awesome, and I think we're gonna see them in March here.
I would love to.
I would,
awesome.
And hopefully we have a follow-up podcast just kind of on what
that would be
seeing
sick.
a band like Nails live would be like.
That would be dope.
So for anybody who kind of likes their music hard and fast and aggressive, I would highly recommend this album too. Definitely one of the best of 2016.
I would be more into their genre, whatever you want to call it, overall, if there was more like this, you know?
Yeah.
If I could find more kind of punk influence in the way that it's not
punk influence
indulgent.
And I think Gate Creeper and Iron Reagan have that. And if you want to go way back, and these guys are totally kind of opposite, but like Suicidal Tendencies kind of are that thrash crossover metal hardcore music. So yeah, those guys are all on some similar spectrums, but Nails.
Did you have a favorite song from this one? My favorite was "Violence Is Forever." It just goes so hard.
These aren't wholesome tunes, folks.
That's one of the longer ones. I think it's 3 minutes.
Yeah,
but it's really damn good, and it goes so hard.
I mean, I do love the title track. I've never gone and like picked out a single song because whenever I listen to this album, it's always continuously through and sort of as a collective. So I don't know if I can pick out a single song.
Well, it's hard to because they happen so fast. I think that's why I picked the one that was a little bit longer because it stood on its own a little bit.
Yeah. But that was my third album. So let's jump into the seconds, Matt.
Number twos. My number 2 is Cardinal, the album Cardinal by Pingrove. I thought it was just a beautifully written album.
Super,
overall.
Very wordy, poignant messages. I'm always a huge fan of wordy music, and I will initially say that I remember when you and Trey went to go see these guys
and didn't
unfruitfully,
see them.
and you told me about them. I went and like listened, and I probably listened to 1 or 2 songs, and I initially wrote them off kind of as standard fare indie folk pop, kind of like the hey ho, like those kind of guys. But thankfully, after you told me that this was like your second favorite album, I happily was proven wrong that this really isn't, and it's, I don't want to steal what you're going to say here, but it's like just super, very wordy. He's saying, like the lead singer is saying so many interesting things.
Yeah.
It's
poetic,
densely packed, poetic music,
definitely.
and it's beautiful, and it kind of goes beyond that pop indie folk.
They just do a smart thing of the instrumental does take a back seat, I think. And if you were just to take it for the instrumental part, it does.
But not even to downplay the instrumentals. I think
it's really beautifully written still. But I mean, really, what the lasting impact is his lyricism, and I think that properly takes a front seat. But I just like the overall aesthetics. I think the instrumental does play into the overall aesthetics of the album, which is really beautiful, I think. Yeah. And there is like kind of what I thought was almost like a garage feel, like friends kind of playing in garage.
It definitely is. They're definitely lo-fi. Yeah. Maybe not lo-fi, but lower production value.
It's not overproduced by any sense, for sure. And it's just like extremely nostalgic to me. I think like being like 25, like it is like a good nostalgia album, like longing for something in the past or thinking about your high school friends. Like I feel like when I turn like 30 or something, this is an album that's gonna hit even harder to me. Like I'm gonna
hurt real
ball
good.
My eyes out probably. And this one I think has more like spring and fall feels to me. It feels like a little Midwestern in changing season ways.
I would definitely say this is a fall feeling song.
It's a good fall, but also some of the songs I think are spring, like kind of a little like depressing, but things are changing, like the transition part of seasons. But yeah, like going back to my criteria, this definitely feels like one where just some of the lyrics are like so good that I am gonna come back to this for sure. Yeah.
And speaking of lyrics, man, this has such clever songwriting. In the song Cadmium, the first half is kind of like stream of consciousness, sort of rambling prose. And one of the lyrics is like, already severing prose, I wrote, I sing instead. And then probably I didn't do it justice there. Go listen to the song, but it's like I said, it starts as prose song, and then as soon as he talks about how like he's severing prose, and then he's going into singing instead, the song sort of takes a tonal shift, and he starts kind of singing more, and it shifts from prose to like a poetic or like song like standard song structure, and just clever stuff like that.
It's really smart.
Yeah, it's very smart. A lot of like vocabulary choices that he uses are like, you need to get a dictionary out and be like, oh, that's a great word to choose for that.
My favorite song is Old Friends, and definitely has that vocabulary aspect that we're talking about. But I really like this aesthetic. This is, I believe, from Old Friends. Walking out on the nighttime, springtime, needling my way home. It takes you to a time and place, almost gives you like a smell, even like the aesthetics of it are really
being out in the night, and you can smell that night of the spring or the fall or whenever you're kind of needling your way home,
and
like
the needle kind of brings up a pine needle smell, like it almost like it's almost such like a specific thing, which is,
now you're making me feel all nostalgic, dude.
It's good, man.
My favorite song was Aphasia, which I guess is
that was my favorite when I first listened to it. I think it's just like incredibly beautiful, like impactful.
And aphasia, speaking of words, is like the symptom of not being able to think of the right word or say the right word. So it kind of, I guess that was one of his fears. Yeah, exactly. So
because he hits on so many of the right words.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump back to Old Friends real quick. My steps keep stiffing my grief through these solipsistic moves. I should call my parents when I think of them. I should tell my friends when I love them.
That was my favorite lyric of the song. It's
fucking beautiful.
Yeah. So call your parents when you think of them, guys. Tell your friends you love them.
And that's what we're here. That's our message.
And that's what we're here to say, guys. Say you love us in the comments of this message.
Please tell us.
Just please, we need that. Okay.
But yeah, that was my number 2 album of 2016.
All right. my number 2. Let me see how we're doing on time. My number 2 album of the year, Jeff Rosenstock's Worry.
Damn good album.
And it's crazy because his album We Cool was one of my top favorite albums of 2015. So he's just on a roll right now.
2015 would have been an interesting list.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I liked a lot from 2015.
Yeah, like
Hop Along. I liked We Cool a lot.
Exactly. And I remember you were telling me yesterday that you actually might even like We Cool better than
I think
Worry.
I still like We Cool better. It's quicker. It's more to the point. But now that I've listened to Worry fully through a couple times now, I mean, I'm definitely going to come back to it. It might end up being my favorite one.
Yeah. So if you don't know Jeff Rosenstock, he's been in like kind of the pop punk game for a long time, kind of with Bomb the Music Industry, and then his kind of recent stint with solo songwriting. And so he's fairly prolific in the scene, and it's immediately evident with his incredibly good songwriting abilities, his super unique voice that he's sort of cultivated for himself, his storytelling ability and his lyrics, everything just screams originality, and he is such like a unique character in punk music. I just highly recommend pretty much everything this guy does. He's awesome.
I was so happy that you introduced me to Jeff Rosenstock.
Yeah.
He's really damn good.
And but I guess this album specifically kind of goes kind of hand in hand with the stuff he's been writing recently about sort of his displeasure, I guess, with the modern world and kind of what it's like to get older, seeing your friend, extremely cynical, seeing your friends grow up around you, getting married, buying homes, but you're still this kind of washed up like punk rocker who's in his 30s now, and you don't have kids, and
that by itself, I mean that's just like a.
And so he's very astute and has incredible observations about like the world around him. Yeah. A lot of them, even though these songs are kind of poppy or upbeat in a way, if you listen to the lyrics, they're very sad, very cynical.
Cynical. I would say that's
some
definitely
of, like especially the song like I'll put in the name of it here later, but looking through the window of your old apartment, like imagining the old you walking through, and just kind of like reminiscing about the days gone by. And like things are just changing now, and they're not as the familiar and the warm and the pleasant emotions of old. Yeah. And he just kind of goes through that, and I mean I don't think I can do it justice like explaining too much here. Just go out and listen to the album. Hold up a lyric sheet.
You could do like a whole podcast on just this album to really get into the nitty gritty of it.
But as far as like a technical take on the album, Jeff's voice really just dominates the entire mix, and I think that's great. I think he has such a unique singing voice and is able to kind of crescendo, and for me, I don't know, I guess I call them like goosebump feels or whatever, like whenever music like crescendos or hits like a particularly impassioned part, which Jeff always gives off like incredible passion in his singing. Yeah. Like I just get goosebumps throughout this entire album.
I think to hit on that point, what I liked about We Cool is some of the impact stuff was like instrumentation, like a guitar solo or something.
Yeah, and that continues into this album though too. There's so many.
I think this one, I think We Cool, I had expectations for Worry because of We Cool was like that's something I can listen to at the gym. Like a lot of songs are just fast, up pace, like the entire time. Worry has like a really good like ebb and flow, and it's good for that. It's not like necessarily a gym album, so I think it was breaking my expectations. But it's really brilliant the way he kind of like builds energy, brings it back up.
Yeah, especially really I think a great example of that is the song "Blast Damage Days." If we can play a little bit of clip of that, I would put it in here. just ebbs and flows so well and kind of gets to that crescendo point. But then the interesting thing about after that song, it kind of Jeff does this crazy thing where he basically puts a mini concept album into this album as a whole. The entire second half is kind of like a seamless, transitionless, I guess, like I said, a concept album of maybe what it's like to get evicted or like living in a place and not knowing like if you're gonna get kicked out and what that feeling is like. And it's just so brilliantly done, and it has like fast-paced punk songs. It has a like ska punk song in there.
Oh yeah.
It's got like ballads. It's he does such like a great job of varying the type of music that he has in this album. And then given that even that it has this like sub album inside of it, it's just incredible.
Yeah. I think he has some ska influences in his background. Mm-hmm. Like he's been around so long. I think he started as ska punk, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, if I had one criticism, or maybe why I didn't immediately get into Worry, was that it's a long, like 17 songs. I think
it is long.
It's long. Mm-hmm. You know, you kind of have to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
But it really does flow together well. Like it's well put together, and it's really, like you're saying with the concept album, it doesn't get out of hand really. You know, that's kind of like a genius thing that he did. So
just super unique album. I think one of the most unique punk albums of 2016, if not the last several years.
It's really interesting too. I think my favorite song was Festival Song,
which
is like supposed to be like it's supposed to hit on my millennial like sensibilities, and it does. It actually
it's
does.
Like, give me the song of the American dorm room. It's like, but definitely if you're a cynical asshole, go listen to this music.
I think when I first listened to Jeff Rosenstock, and I think even in this one, it has like a little bit of that like synth punk kind of like
it definitely has the keys in it.
And it's like, I think I told you when I first listened to him, it sounded like my friend's band, and they were like I don't know, but they were like very like synth based rock.
Okay.
And he has that element of that, and for whatever reason, that's like that catches my interest for sure.
Tickles your fancy. All right.
So just a little bit,
just a little tickle. All right. On that note, we are moving into the long-awaited top album,
favorite album
of the year 2016. Matt Miller, what is your favorite album?
Malibu by Anderson Paak. I think we just
yes, that's how that's what we'll pronounce his name.
Anderson Paak. Malibu. This was like a critically acclaimed album. I think a lot of people said they liked it a lot, but I think it's just damn good. And when I think back to my criteria, like what albums from 2016 am I gonna still listen to later in my life? I think I can't even like imagine not listening to this in the summer now.
Really?
Like it's just like embedded into me. Like some of the songs for sure are just like they're staples for me. And I think that was definitely one of the main reasons that I picked it. Like it just brings like the album title is called Malibu. It has like a summer feel. Like it's just so like a specific like time and place. Like it's just so evocative of a certain specific emotion. I think that's like a lot harder than like people typically appreciate, trying to just nail down on like a summer Malibu type feel of a certain place, a certain season. And I think it does that like geniusly. It has a lot of like funk, like blues, jazz, like R&B vibes,
tons of different
hip-hop,
like things just meshed in together.
So many things. Like I think just like instrumentally wise, it's like so genius.
Yeah, and I remember when I was describing it to you when I first listened to it, I said it was like the most lush like album I had heard in quite some time.
Yeah,
this like the production value and all these different like elements just coming in just create this like explosion of like just beautiful, like just rich and full and like just lush sound. It's
a really incredible. Good word. It really embellishes a lot of the music behind it. There's so many good songs from it. Like to even pick a favorite was pretty hard. But I thought Heart Don't Stand a Chance was just like the prettiest, like probably the most like R&B. It's just like it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I liked the season. Carry Me was my favorite.
Yeah, that's
album.
another really damn good one.
Especially when you talk about like summertime. He has a lyric about like it's strawberry season or whatever, and like my love is like coming back to me. I wish I had a lyric sheet in front of me, but yeah, it just definitely gives me those summertime feels.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like lyrically, like that's typically your first perspective.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought so. I had never listened to Anderson .Paak before. I know that he's been like a very up and coming recently. He's incredibly critically acclaimed, but I also am not a huge fan. Maybe not a huge fan, but I don't seek out this genre. I don't seek out R&B or kind of like rap R&B too much, and so I never really gave him a chance to like win me over essentially. But the first time I listened to it, I had a lyric sheet open, and just reading down it, I think he is an incredible lyricist. And so even though this album isn't up my alley kind of historically, I can definitely see picking out some of my favorite songs and listening to them down the road here. So
6 years old, I saw my first pair of Jordans.
Oh yeah, and that whole song, Carry Me, like I don't want to get my Jordans dirty.
It's good, man. I don't really know. I can't remember like how I found out about him. Probably maybe the Tiny Desk concert was maybe one of the first times I saw him. Like definitely the live experience. Like I haven't seen him live personally, but the live videos that I've seen, like they're just really good at playing music, and that definitely I think played into one of the reasons this was my favorite. Like I think all that kind of went into it for me.
Also, just from a aesthetic, we keep using that word, but like the aesthetics of his voice, I think, are incredible. I really love kind of that raspy, unique. He can do the sing, kind of like Chance the Rapper. He can do the singing incredibly well, and he can do rapping incredibly well.
He's a genius musician. Probably should have started with this, but he drums on the album. He's a drummer, so he started as a session drummer. Like that's like his background. Like he's like Jeff Rosenstock. He's a lifer musician. Yeah, you know, even when he was dead broke, he was just doing music. Is like still trying to make it that way. Eventually, just like worked his way up from like a session drummer. Like actually, I can sing. I can rap a little bit.
He raps and plays the drums at the same time, which I didn't know is impressive.
That's like part of the live. Really element that's pretty genius.
Yeah, I'm sure his tour is already over for this. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I haven't seen any tour dates for him, but it would be amazing to see him live. I haven't seen him like on any like festival lineups or anything either, so I don't know what he's doing, but he's just a really good musician. And this album kind of put him on the map, I think, for sure. Yeah. But I think deservedly so. Like I'm just like so happy for this dude. He just seems like such a positive guy. Like now that I listened to the album, I loved it so much. I listened to a lot of his like interviews and stuff, and he just seems like a super positive dude. He seems like a great person to root for. Yeah. So that kind of like element of the music, I do just like from a lot
personal,
too.
Like
from a personal
this
perspective,
dude is just cool.
Like,
I want to root for him.
I will rap with Anderson for sure.
Well, hopefully he listens to this, man. You'd be part of his pack.
That would be amazing. His pod, if you would. That's all I really had to say for that one. That's my number one. Malibu.
It was. So, naming this as your favorite album of 2016, that's a big thing. It's just...
I feel very comfortable because some of these songs I think are really great, like really amazing. And definitely a lot of the songs I'll come back to. And like I said, like even when I listen to the album, like I'll skip some songs, I'll jump through, but all of them are really good. And when I do listen to it, I usually find one like, oh, why didn't I listen to that more closely before? Yeah. So I always find ones that
I definitely want to go back and re-listen to all these and definitely have that experience. Yeah, I didn't catch that the first time.
I think that's a sign of a really good album that even when you might skip some songs, when you do go back to it, you're like, oh god, why was I skipping this?
Because it's got so many layers. It takes a little time to digest them all.
And they're like I said, like he blends so many genres. Like if you're not in the mood for like the R&B side, you skip through those, but you come back to it and that might hit really hard the next time you listen to it. So
spring's coming up here pretty soon.
I'm gonna be back on it. Yeah. Even today it was sunny outside and I was listening to it. I was like, yes, this is
all
nice.
Right. Yeah, so I give Malibu my seal of approval even as a non R&B fan. So anybody else out there who doesn't like this genre of music too often, definitely give it a shot, man. It is a good album.
It's for sure worth listening to, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it a lot. That's my number one, Malibu.
All
right. So the big reveal, Riley, number one album of 2016.
I know you guys have all been waiting for it.
Fans have been clamoring.
I feel like if you know my musical taste, this probably doesn't come as a shock to anybody, but my number one album is Conor Oberst's Ruminations.
It's very good. It's
very pretty. Good. And I am a huge sucker for sad music. I've loved Conor, kind of just like Jeff Rosenstock. Conor Oberst has been a lifetime musician, and I have really dug most things that he's done.
Yeah.
Kind of starting with Bright Eyes, then kind of going into Bright Eyes' back catalog, then sort of like his solo stuff, and then things that he's been featured on. He's just a prolific artist, just as much as Jeff Rosenstock is. Amazing singer-songwriter. If you don't know Conor Oberst, definitely start with his earlier Bright Eyes album.
Yeah.
Just start digging in.
I didn't know him.
Yeah. If you love lyrically dense, I know this is a kind of a worn out comparison, but like Bob Dylan-esque.
Yeah, I literally wrote that. I have. You can look at it, man. You can read it. Bob Dylan-esque.
I verify that
with a quaky voice.
I verify that Matt has written this in his notebook.
That was the first note I took.
Yeah. So, but yeah, just incredible. Like the Bob Dylan of our generation is usually what he's compared to.
It's pretty
for better or worse.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, he uses the same... The guitar-harmonica combo.
Yeah.
I think
we'll get into it.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get into it.
But I kind of want to give a little bit of context before. So the later Bright Eyes stuff, and then his Desaparecidos latest album, I wasn't a huge fan of. And also his newest solo work, I wasn't a huge fan of. So when this album came out, I was like... I want like he hasn't. Yeah, I was like, I wonder what this is gonna be like. But it knocked my freaking socks off, man. So a little context on the album. Conor had just gotten through a falsely claimed sort of sexual lawsuit against him.
Like sexual
harassment,
abuse.
Yeah, sexual like harassment, abuse,
assault
lawsuit that was falsely accused against him by a kind of crazy fan who eventually recused herself of that charge. She said she made it up, but during that time, like he lost a lot of contact with friends and family and fans, and a lot of people online were hating on him and saying like he was a horrible person, even though he was innocent in all this. And then he was also diagnosed with a brain cyst around the same time. So his life wasn't going so great. So
double combo,
double
whammy.
The wombo combo of life got him.
Yeah.
And so he I guess locked himself away and wrote this incredibly beautiful, sad album.
Incredibly sad.
And it's so stripped down. I listened to Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, highly recommended if you've never heard it. But he does a Conor Oberst interview where Conor, I think, essentially says that all of his songs, like his songwriting philosophy is that they should all be able to be broken down with basically just a guitar and a voice, which is exactly what he does on this. Strips away everything.
Actually, I read that he had planned to do a full... instrumentation, and that one's been announced, so that will be the Salutations,
which is the next album.
That'll have the full band, but this one was he wrote it with just the stripped down versions, and his like the people that he brought it to, friends and family, were like, "This is so damn good just by itself." So he released that one.
It's just stripped down. Okay, nice. So yeah, it's just his voice, a piano, a guitar, and a harmonica for each song, essentially.
Yeah, and
there's only one part where I can think that there's some sort of like production trickery, but other than that, it
just feels purely so simple and just pure,
simple. And it's been done before. Like Bob Dylan, is known for his guitar.
It's not piano. Like you're not breaking the mold by putting a piano.
But he does it in such a Conor Oberst way that he makes it his own, essentially, which I love. And kind of like I've been saying throughout this entire podcast, like the lyrics, man, are just out of
suicidal.
Yeah, I guess you could say suicidal, but just out of this.
They
out
definitely
of
are.
this world so well. He's such a master of crafting a song with. And putting all the pieces together in such a way that it's uniquely Conor Oberst and also like kind of like mind opening and eye opening and just amazing throughout. I know I'm just kind of just rambling about
So one thing like I said, I didn't know about Conor Oberst at all. So the fame part, I feel like the two main themes that run through his album are. It's suicidal. It's undeniably very depressing, borderline suicidal, and then a lot of it is about like fame and dealing with
dealing with the backlash,
being a famous person. So that part of it I didn't really get until you told me the backstory. I didn't know how famous he was, but now that I understand that part of it, that totally makes sense for a lot of the other songs that I didn't really understand at first.
And just like most other Conor Oberst things, it's you pretty much have to believe that all of these songs are like autobiographical. A lot of times, even though he's not explicitly saying this is me, you pretty much understand that this is Conor talking as the narrator. And if you love sad music, man, winter's not quite over yet. Just pop this bad boy in, man. Tuck yourself into a blanket and just feel sad.
I think this is like a like Midwest kind of album
Midwest,
in that
Midwest
way too.
Winter, just gray.
It's not like
stripped down,
stripped down, bare bones. Like it's not Midwestern like industrial sense. Like I think we were talking about like the Menzingers. I feel like it's more like industrial, and like Cleveland Cloud Nothings is more like Cleveland industrial. This is more like. And more west of Midwest because
she's from Omaha, Nebraska.
He's from Omaha,
and this
Nebraska.
is where this was written and I believe recorded was in a winter in Omaha, Nebraska.
That totally comes through.
Exactly.
That totally comes through because it's more like of a like farm Midwestern album, but it definitely has the same kind of like vibes of like trying to break out of that whatever that kind of containment that you feel.
Exactly. But going back to our criteria, this was definitely the album that made me think and feel the most.
Certainly a lot of feels.
Yeah, just every kind of feeling is on display here. Every emotion is on display, and Conor like does not hold back at all. And I kind of like feed off of that and kind of interject myself or whatnot, and I beyond that I can't do the album justice talking because it is so bare bones and so stripped back. Like I think you just need to go listen to it to yourself and kind of make up your own mind about it.
Personally, my favorite instrument I think is harmonica, and he absolutely wails on it in a way that it's just like I don't know, that hits me like not like nothing else really does. Yeah,
and there's a YouTube video out there of him. I believe it's for NPR doing the entire album on tour. Yeah, I highly recommend watching it. You can see the emotion and just the raw passion that goes into this music, and that's kind of I guess really what it boils down to. It's just raw emotion, passion, lyrical prowess. Densely compact into this beautiful album, and I highly recommend it to anybody who is a fan of that kind of music. So
most definitely,
my favorite thing that affected me the most, even though it's only been out for a few months, I've had it on repeat since day one. So
the Riley Webb seal of approval.
Riley Webb seal of approval, man. Not many things can get that.
So that was Ruminations by Conor Oberst.
Ruminations.
So now you want to do just some honorable mentions that didn't make the list but almost made the list.
Yeah.
Real quick.
I wish I had a little bit more prepared for the honorable mentions, but yeah, let's.
Well, I'll mention a lot of just albums that came out, and then you can jump in.
I guess Against Me.
Against Me definitely was an honorable mention for me. I like that one a lot. Even that was a really good album. Shapeshift with me.
Yeah.
Against me.
The Dream Is Over by Pup.
That was another
Canadian
good one that I put on my
Canadian
list.
punk rock band. Also a great one. That was a contender for my number 3. But yeah,
That was
Matt,
in
if
the
you want to
mix.
like kind of start naming some albums.
The other one's Schmilko by Wilco. I like that as a
Actually,
Wilco fan.
I did not listen to that.
I liked it as a Wilco fan. Pew. I told you. I tried to write it.
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah,
I told you about it, but that's a good. They sound a lot like Diarrhea Planet. It's really fun.
For fans who may not know, Diarrhea Planet is
just Google it.
Just Google Diarrhea Planet as well. I got one. Before a Million Universes, but Big Ups.
Okay. That had fallen off my radar. Because
That one, I
much.
wasn't a huge fan at first, but they released their Audio Tree live version of a few of those songs, which really it sparked my interest back into that album, or at least into the live versions of that song. And I think maybe the production on Before a Million Universes, the studio release, kind of let it down.
Yeah.
The production on this Audio Tree live version was so good. I would if you haven't gone and listened to those versions of the song yet, you should go check that out.
Telephone by No Name, a rapper from Chicago. She was the I think I mentioned that one. She's the girl Chance the Rapper. That's what you said. But it's a good album.
Yeah. I got one.
Go ahead.
This isn't necessarily an album; it's an EP. Wriggle by Clipping.
Okay. I'll write that one down.
Yeah, it's I'm not a huge rap guy, but when this came out, I had it on repeat for weeks and weeks on end. If you're into kind of like cerebral rap, even though this gets this just given like the title Wriggle, it's like purposefully kind of raunchy and purposefully provocative and purposefully kind of ratchet, but it like does it in a tasteful way.
Yeah.
So
there was some good rap that came out. I thought Kendrick's Untitled Unmastered, I thought was really good. It was just his backtracks basically.
Exactly. I heard a lot of good things about that.
They were damn good.
Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition.
Yeah, I like that.
Also,
one too.
Super good experimental hip hop.
Brown.
Yeah.
A Good Night in the Ghetto by Kamaya is a really good rap album.
Okay.
She's a girl rapper. It is like, it's not trap. It has like a lot of different genre influences, but it's really good.
Bottomless Pit, Death Grips.
Okay, I didn't listen
for
to
all
that
the
one.
Death Grips fans out there, or people who don't like Death Grips. This is, I know a lot of their music isn't the most accessible, but this is probably their most or second most accessible album. So if you're looking to get into Death Grips or you've never heard them and want a good jumping off point, Bottomless Pit by Death Grips is a great place to start.
And we would be remiss to not mention Coloring Book, I think, by Chance the Rapper. If we're talking about hip-hop albums.
Yep.
I mean, that was good. It's not I liked Acid so much more.
Yeah, Acid Rap was
Acid
such
Rap,
an amazing album.
So good. But yeah, I have to mention that one. For 22 A Million by Bon Iver was very close to being my number 3.
Really? I guess I was still not a huge fan of Bon Iver.
He has like some of the Kanye voice effects, but I liked it a lot.
I know I mentioned them in my Nails review, but Gate Creepers, Sonoran Deprivation. I know it's quite the title for an album, but kind of again with that thrash crossover hardcore punk metal sort of genre music, a great one to look into.
Yeah, so those are really my honorable mentions of just pure favorites. But I mean, looking at 2016 a whole, I feel like we have to mention Lemonade by Beyonce. That was pretty much tops on most people's.
Yeah, I know Lemonade,
list.
and wasn't Blonde too by
Blonde by Frank Ocean.
Frank Ocean, yeah.
I like that one. Both of those I listened to once, and I was like, yeah, these are really good, but I didn't listen to them again.
I was the same way. Like I said, R&B doesn't always do it for me, so
that's fair. I should have mentioned this earlier, but Higher Power by The Dirty Nil, that was my favorite. Besides Jeff Rosenstock, that was my favorite rap album of
besides Jeff Rosenstock, punk album
of 2016.
Okay.
Sorry.
My last honorable mention I would have to say is Weezer's White Album. Weezer's coming back in a strong way, man. Their album before that, Everything Will Be Alright in the End, I really loved.
Yeah.
And White Album was also excellent. I think they're having a return to form here. And if you've written off Weezer because of their kind of I'd say downturn or lack of quality in the past 10 years, definitely check out these last two albums, man. They're awesome.
And another couple that we probably have to mention. Radiohead came out with a new album.
Yeah, Radiohead.
I did like that one.
I haven't.
But again, I listened to it once and I was like, that's good. But
I'm sure I need to listen to it again. But the last two, this album and King of Limbs, haven't really done it for me.
That one was a moon-shaped pool.
Yeah.
I mean, David Bowie died in 2016.
Yeah.
I think I listened to that one once. The Solange album.
We got lots of honorable mentions, Matt.
I'm just saying these are more like ones that came up on the list.
Yeah.
For me personally, I didn't even listen to the Solange one. Okay. I listened to James Blake once. Like that was another one that I listened to once. Car Seat Headrest is another one that came up.
Yeah, I don't like Car Seat. I'm not a fan of the Car Seat Headrest. We're both not a fan. But so many people love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're getting a little off topic with honorable mentions when we start talking about albums that we
I'm
didn't
really trying to get into just 2016 in general.
So 2016 in general.
Is there anything else you want to add? 2016.
I think 2016 was a great year for music. Truthfully, one of the better ones in the past few years. Like
some of the big
I remember I said that about 2015. Like, oh, this is such a great year for music. 2016 really continued that streak, and then 2017, hopefully it's looking the same, man. Like, what do we predict?
Especially for us personally, like the Cloud Nothings came out.
Yeah, Cloud Nothings just came out with a pretty decent album.
The Menzingers
came out with a very good album.
That's a good start.
Just right off in January and February.
Yeah,
like,
those aren't like big artists probably that are mainstream, at least not mainstream big.
Yeah.
But those are
at least in kind of the pop punk or emo scenes.
For our aesthetics and what we listen to, those are two really important ones.
So, but I think 2017, kind of what else is on the horizon here? What else are we looking for?
I'm not sure. Gorillaz is
possibly.
Yeah.
Arcade Fire, they had a new single recently. Oh, you weren't? Well, if Trey hadn't been killed by that fish, maybe he would be here to talk about it.
Bastard.
So, son of a bitch fish. But
I really haven't been on the radar of what is supposed to come out in 2017 though.
Okay.
Too much.
Yeah.
Is there anything that if like you wish this band would come out with another album in 2017? Do you have any wish lists?
Wish list
albums.
I was really, Menzingers was a huge one. They've already come through with it.
Mm-hmm.
But any band that has taken a while to release a new album.
Mine, I just want to mention this because of mine. Radiator Hospital. Like,
you would love for
that would be
that would be excellent too. I would love for them to do a new one.
That'd be so awesome.
Just like on the spot, off the top of my head, trying to think of bands that I would love Missy Elliott.
Yeah, she came out with a new song. I told you.
Yeah, I would love Missy Elliott to come out with a new album. It's been too long.
I think she will.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Inside info. Breaking news.
Yeah, Matt doesn't know anything about it, guys. Sorry.
No, that would be dope though, for sure. I don't know who else. We'll just see. I usually just wait and see. I kind of just. Then everything's a pleasant surprise.
It's like, nice, dude.
Yeah.
New Nirvana. Wow.
that was shocking.
Anyway. I think we're gonna wrap this podcast up here. I think we got it out. If you a
fun 2016 wrap up. It's good to finally talk about.
Yeah, it's good to talk about it. We're sorry about the long wait between the two podcasts.
I know we really have to apologize.
That was a big. I'm really sorry.
10 people that listened to the first one.
But I think there's going to be some more podcasts coming up here in the future.
Be back soon.
Yeah, I think this will be much more a regular thing with our new location,
with the new lineup and the
new
unfortunate tragic deaths.
The tragic deaths. Yet they worked out in the end.
But inevitable.
So, inevitable. And rest in peace, guys.
All right.
Anyway.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
All two people.
we really appreciate it. So give these albums a listen. comment what you guys think about them, and we'll hopefully do some more of these in the future.
Yep.
All right.
Peace out.
See you guys.